go again. It's time for more real ghost stories from real people. And if you have a ghost story that you'd like to share with us, email me, Tony@thetastespot.com. It's on the screen. And give us some details of it. We can arrange to get together on a call, and you can share that story on an upcoming episode. Let's go to the phones. Yes, you are on the air.
A couple years back, about 3, maybe 4 years ago, I moved into a house, and one night, it wasn't actually night, it was around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I was laying down in bed watching a movie, and my kids were in the other room asleep. And I seen my son's hand go down below the door because there was a gap between the floor and the door, and I told him to get in his room and go back to bed.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't respond to me. So then I see my son's face, what I thought was my son's face, underneath the door. So I said, all right, I'm going to get up and I'm going to get you now.
Uh-huh.
Well, I swung open that door. He wasn't there. So I went to his door, opened up the door. Him and my daughter both were asleep, okay?
So you don't know what you saw?
I'm pretty sure it was a boy. Now, about 2 months after that happened, then my son came into my room at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, said he was playing with a boy, and he punched him in his stomach. I said, go back to bed. And he said, no. And he's serious, that some boy just punched him in the stomach. He raised up his shirt, and there was a fist print in my son's stomach.
Oh, my gosh.
That happened maybe 3-4 years ago, maybe.
And are you guys still in the same house?
No, we moved out of there about 3 months after that happened.
I can't imagine the fear that would go through a parent's mind when you see something like that, when your children are harmed, and there's no way to explain it. That would have to drive you nuts. I think if it were me, I might have just left that night. Be like one of those, hey, why is this house being sold with all this furniture in it? Well, it's just a really good deal. Thank you for the call. Yes, let's hear your story.
All right, well, I'm going to choose to remain anonymous because my parents still think I'm lying about this.
Okay.
Well, about a few years ago, we had just moved into a new house. There was this really weird, knocking on my wall, and it just seemed to jump from wall to wall. Like, I couldn't figure out where it was going from or where it was coming from. I can't figure out if somebody's in the house or not.
Mm-hmm.
So my first thought is, oh, my gosh, there's somebody in my house.
Yeah.
So I pull out my compound bow and a couple of arrows, and I've started looking around my house. This is where it gets bad. Well, I turn a corner, and back in our washroom, there's a white orb. I can't tell what it is, and I fire at it.
Okay.
I flip on my light, and I've got a hole in my freezer where my arrow is, but no light, no nothing.
And there was no light in the room, like on that freezer that could have been coming out of it. I mean, it's a freezer.
No, there was no lights on at all.
Okay.
Just that little orb that I shot at. It just didn't look any bigger than a softball, and it was just white. Well, anyway, I tell my parents when they hear a ruckus downstairs, and they think I'm lying, like I'm just...
having target practice on the freezer.
Apparently. And so we ended up having to replace the freezer, and I got grounded for it. Like, overactive imagination was how they called it.
Have you done anything like that in the past? I mean, you're not attacking other household appliances.
You know, I didn't think so.
I mean, and you sound sane enough that you wouldn't be doing target practice on, like, the washer or dryer or anything, so...
Well, considering I'm a psychology and criminal justice major, I hope so.
Yeah.
I just happen to have a compound bow and I'm ready to get shot with.
Yeah. Very odd. Very odd. I appreciate the story. If you have a ghost story that you would like to share with us, email me, Tony, Tony, at thetastespot.com, and I'll get back to you, and we can arrange a time to get your call recorded to share on a future show. Let's hear your story.
Okay, I bought a house about a year ago, and my best friend moved with me, and then she moved out about 2 weeks later, and after she moved out, the first night I was there, I was asleep, and I woke up because something was choking me. Well, of course, nobody else was in the house but me.
Describe the choking feeling, like you felt something was around your neck?
There were it felt like two hands around my neck, completely choking me. I woke up and couldn't breathe for about a minute.
Wow, okay.
And then about 2 weeks later, I was sitting in my living room, and a candle that I had on top of my TV levitated up off the TV about 6 inches and flew across the room.
Oh my gosh.
So that day I went and bought a dog. I wouldn't be there by myself. She plays with the dog.
The dog seems to act like it sees something?
There'll be times where he's just laying on the floor and acting like somebody's rubbing his belly, and you can see his belly moving back and forth.
Have you ever looked into any of the history of this home to
Yeah, actually, this house was built by a family that they had a daughter who was an old maid, basically. She never got married, so they left the house to her, and she died in the house.
Okay.
Like, in the house in a fire, so...
Oh, wow.
So we think that might be... That's why I call her she.
Interesting. Thanks for the call. The first part of that story actually reminded me of something that it has various names, and it really just probably depends on who's telling the story and the stories that they've heard or experienced themselves, called old hag or old maid syndrome. And I know that's not a technical term by any means, but essentially it's a type of sleep apnea that someone can have. And the common thing that happens when they're experiencing the old hag or old maid syndrome is one opens up their eyes, they feel paralyzed, and it's hard to breathe, and they feel as if someone is sitting on their chest. And what apparently most people see is an image of an old, scary-looking lady sitting on them. And a lot of people believe that they just saw a ghost or an apparition of some sort. But apparently it's some sort of a sleep apnea. I had something similar to that years ago where I woke up, couldn't move, and I felt like there was something sitting on me or like moving through me like a cloud, and it scared the living daylights out of me until I looked it up and realized it was a type of a sleep apnea that you can have where it's your brain is in dream mode and your body is in reality, and the two mix and can very, very quickly screw with your mind. Let's go to another call.
We were coming back from Minnesota. I was about 12 and my sister was 10. We were coming back with our dad. About an hour north of Holton, our car broke down. Alternator started going out. When we got to Holton, we got to the police station. They took us to one hotel, and that hotel was completely booked. So they took us to the Hotel Josephine, which was built in the 1890s. And we found out after staying there that Josephine's still there. After we went to bed, about every half an hour, we would wake up, and the shower was completely turned on as high as it would go. The sink was running, the AC was turned down as cold as it would go, and the TV was turned on as high as it would go. Every half hour throughout the night.
These all would just turn on simultaneously?
Yeah.
My gosh.
And we were all three asleep, and then we'd all wake up at the same time because got really cold, got really loud.
Did you move to another room then, or what happened?
No, we ended up having to stay because that was the only room left in that hotel too.
And when you complained about it, what did they say to explain it?
They said, well, we don't know. It's an old hotel. Things happen.
Not that much happens in an old hotel. Great story. Thank you for the call. We would love to share your ghost story. You can share it with us and use your name, or do it completely anonymously. Just email me. It's Tony, Tony, at thetastespot.com. I'll get back to you, and we can arrange a time for you to share your story, and we can broadcast it on a future episode. That's all the time we have for this round of Tony Bruschi's Ghost Stories. I'm Tony Bruschi. Thanks for listening.